Hello, and welcome to our very first episode, Sickle Cell Conversations. This is the maiden edition of the official bi-weekly podcast of the Sickle Cell Foundation Nigeria, where we talk about everything and anything about sickle cell disorder that you need to know, that you may not know exactly. And my name is Enakome Oka Avai, and I'm really excited to be your host on this journey as we dive into issues and shed light on something that I particularly consider a very interesting public health topic. As the maiden edition, it's only important and right that we start from the very beginning. Whether you are a champion living the situation or you're a caregiver, a parent, or a healthcare provider, this podcast is for you. And on this episode, I'm super excited and honored to introduce to you the voice of the person that you'd be hearing very often who would help us unpack in this episode. I consider her a trailblazer in the sickle cell ecosystem. She is a woman who has dedicated years of her life's work to improving the lives and families of people who are affected with this condition. She is the National Director and the Chief Executive Officer of the Sickle Cell Foundation Nigeria. And under her leadership, the foundation has expanded its reach, its impact, and innovation from exceptional healthcare delivery system to national awareness campaigns and now cure through bone marrow transplant. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Annette Akinsete.
Ooh, thank you so much, Enakome. I am very delighted to be here, honestly.
I'm glad that
actually
you're here with us.
Privileged. I feel it's a dream come true.
Absolutely.
We've been walking towards this.
Yeah.
And it's like, here we are.
Exactly.
So thank you for making it happen.
Thank you
for
being here with us.
So let's take it away. We're going to be talking about sickle cell.
Exactly.
There's a lot to know.
Exactly.
So let's
start from the beginning.
Let's start from the very beginning.
I think I have to take vocal classes after this. Okay, so let's start from the beginning, like you said. So what exactly is sickle cell disorder? I mean, for someone who hasn't heard about it before, shockingly, there are people who haven't heard about the condition before, or for someone who has perhaps a vague idea of what the condition is like. How would you explain it to them?
Thanks. That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
What is sickle cell? I think it's so important because even if you do know, there's so much more you need to know, and there's a lot you need to unlearn about what you already know. So basically, sickle cell disorder, which we like to call it rather than sickle cell disease, that disease we're trying as much as possible to remove it from our vocabulary in the sickle cell community, because it's really increases this issue of stigmatization and discrimination.
Yes, I believe so.
Because actually, it is not a disease. If you look at it that way, it is a disorder of the genes. Right. So when I speak with children or sometimes even adults, to break it down, I just say, look, it's something you get from your parents. It's not infectious. That's important to know. So when people are saying, oh, we don't really, someone who has sickle cell, keep away from them. No. It is not infectious or contagious. It's something you inherit from your father and from your mother. And if your parents don't have it, you can't have it.
You can have it.
Okay, your parents may be carriers. Like, in other words, they don't have the disease, but they carry the gene, and then it gets expressed in their offspring. So that those are, like myself, I'm a carrier.
Okay.
My children do not have it because my husband is not a carrier. And let me dial back. So basically, the condition itself, like I said, is a disorder, and it's a disorder of the blood. It's the most common genetic blood disorder in the whole world.
Oh, wow.
The most common. And then talking about being common, Nigeria has the highest burden of this condition in the world. You said it so in your remarks.
Exactly.
It's like we're number one. We're first position, which we as I say, we say in Nigeria, with our full chest. We own it.
We're owning it.
With our full chest. But the whole point is to do something about it. And let's take the lead. And let the rest of the world learn from us about how to manage this condition, how to make life better for those who have it, and so on. Back again to what it is. It's a disorder of the blood. And in the blood, we have different cells in our blood. Okay. If you remember your biology, I hope you do.
I do.
Your white blood cells that help you to do what? Fight infection.
Exactly, yeah.
Your platelets are the ones that help you not to bleed to death. They're tiny cells. And then the red blood cells. The red blood cells, that's where the problem lies in sickle cell disorder.
Okay.
And in the red blood cell, there's a substance called hemoglobin. Hemoglobin. It is iron and protein joined together. Right. And that's the substance that gives our blood the red color. Okay. That's the substance also that helps us catch oxygen, if you like. When we breathe in air, the air we breathe we can't see it, is there. Mm-hmm. We take the air in, but so much is happening as we take it in. Yeah. We extract the oxygen. It's the oxygen that we require. All the other components of the air we don't really need. It's the oxygen that we require. And that oxygen, guess what happens? Is the hemoglobin in our red blood cells that attach the oxygen to itself. Right. And when we breathe in, our air goes into the lungs. And in our lungs, I was asking again if you remember your biology, if you remember the drawing of the lungs, they're tiny, tiny, tiny balloons inside the lung called alveoli.
Right.
And that's where they're tiny balloons. That's where the air goes, the oxygen goes, the air, and then the blood vessels around those just kind of apply themselves to the balloons, little balloons, and oxygen seeps, if you like, into the blood vessels. Okay, blood vessels carry blood. And inside the blood now, there are red blood cells. Those red blood cells are the ones that contain hemoglobin. Hemoglobin now captures the oxygen and then moves around the body. That's when respiration is complete. Right. We say we respire. Respiration is complete when oxygen reaches the blood. And then the blood cells now carry the oxygen to the organs and to the tissues. Then we now say respiration is complete. And then we are alive. Yeah. Because without oxygen, we are dead.
Exactly.
Without oxygen, we are dead. So you can imagine, therefore, in a condition that has a problem with that hemoglobin, then there must be an issue with respect to oxygen carrying capacity.
Exactly.
Okay, now what happens to that cell? The red cells in persons who have sickle cell are misshapen. The shape is not nice and round. In a normal red blood cell is round and soft, pliable, supple, easily glides. You see it under a proper microscope, electron microscope. You see how the cells glide through the vessels. Either wall of the vessels, they glide out and so on and so on. Okay. Whereas the sickle cells, by the way, the name comes from a sickle. A sickle is a farming implement.
Yeah, I think it's used to harvest rice or something.
So you know it.
I've seen it
before.
Have you seen it?
Okay. Yeah. Do you know I didn't see it until I got to university. I really hardly say, blood cells are shaped like sickle cells. I only say that because I know the name of the condition is sickle cell. Yeah. And that's where the name came from. But I prefer to say it's shaped like a letter C or like a banana, so because we can,
that's more
that resonates more,
yes.
with us and with younger people. We think, okay. And so you now wonder, how would a cell that's shaped like that move easily through a vessel?
That's
what happens?
Tiny and small, yeah.
And then they have sharp corners. So they begin to hit the blood vessels, the line of the vessels, and they hook. And then they begin to stick to one another. Remember, they're also rigid. They're not pliable. So at the end of the day, what happens? The pathology, that is the cause of disease, in this case, is that the blood cells begin to clump together. Right. They're sticky. It's as if everything is conspiring to prevent these cells from moving easily through the vessels. They're sticky. They're sharp, cornered. They're rigid, so they don't flow. They just begin to cluster together and block the vessels. And when they block the vessels, what happens? Blood does not go or reach your end organs and to the tissues. And those tissues and organs become starved of oxygen. Yeah. And the body's way of telling you that there is a problem is pain.
Right.
That's why the hallmark of this condition is pain. The patients will tell you that their pain is so severe. And I keep saying it because people cannot really empathize. When you ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, where's your pain? Don't be surprised to hear them saying 20. So it's beyond your scale by far. The pain of sickle cell is severe. Those who have had babies and gone through labor pain will tell you, please, the labor pain is child's play. compared with the pain of sickle cell. Because sometimes you can't even localize it.
Yeah.
You don't know where the pain is coming from. My head, you just know it's pain.
So it's not like there's a particular area of the body that
no, it can be anywhere. Head, back, side, name it. So all they know is there's pain. Wow. So to be honest, it is not something that you can only imagine it.
Actually.
Except you really experience it.
Actually.
And when you see the patients going through it, as a human, you just feel for them that whatever they're going through has to be very serious.
Yeah.
That is why also when we see them at emergency rooms, and nurses talk with them, because I've seen that happen, and I say that to them that, look, by now you should be used to this pain.
Really?
Come on, be strong. That kind. And it's so unfair. That's not the way we should.
Actually,
that's not the way. As caregivers, we shouldn't do that. So back to what it is. So that's what the cells are like, and that's why, like I said, because the cell is shaped like a sickle, it is called sickle cell. And then the term sicklers we don't use anymore.
Yeah, I think.
And that's because that came from, the cells sickle. By the way, the cells are not always that shape. It happens when they're dehydrated, and dehydration happens easily. When you're stressed, you can get dehydrated. And our life is a life of stress. So stress, physical, emotional, mental, can lead to some level of dehydration, and then the cells just sickle.
Okay.
That's why they refer to them as persons whose blood cells sickle. They're sicklers, but we don't even use that terminology anymore. Yeah. Again, it is discriminatory. It is stigmatizing. And sickler, no. I've said the story a few times. My mom used to call my dad sickler because felt he was always sick. And again, that's not why they were called sicklers. How did we come about
the term sickler, though?
Sickling. Someone who sickles is a sickler. It's just
like
is a sickler.
A slang or something?
No,
because I want.
It's like English. You coin a word from the term sickle. Okay. You coin the word and say, okay, this person's blood tends to sickle. Now they're sicklers because their cells sickle. But forget about that. We don't use that as much as possible. We want to erase it from our vocabulary, in the sickle cell community. Okay, they have sickle cell disorder, and that's it. And there are complications. Those are the things that really... Well, I'm not saying that, one thing I must put out there at the beginning, because I know we're going to have more episodes, is that sickle cell is not a death sentence. Let me put it out there now. Yeah. It's not a death sentence. We have come a long way when it comes to managing the condition. Persons can live normal, productive lives, and they can contribute meaningfully to their society, to the communities. And they live when I was a medical student, it was indeed a pediatric disease. We hardly found them beyond the age of 5, maybe 10. But after that, it was rare. Okay. So it was pediatricians used to see.
But why was that, though?
Because they died. And why did they die? It was infections. I often talk about, it's infections that kill our children. Again, let's go back again to help ourselves with some stats. We say that an estimated 150,000 babies are born every year in Nigeria. In Nigeria alone, with sickle cell disorder, and over 100,000 of them don't live to the age of 5. And what kills them is infection. Infection tends to kill them. And so if you want to manage it, deal with infection, and you help them live to the age of 5. So when we engage with government, for instance, we want to encourage government to say, hey, give free treatment to children under the age of 5. Remember that, and we always, arm twist them in a way to say we are all in part of the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and SDG number 3 being health. Target number 2 is to reduce mortality of children under the age of 5. So those are low-hanging fruits for government to say, tackle sickle cell. Those over 100,000 babies will be kept alive and will hit their 5th birthday. By so doing, you'll be reducing mortality of children under the age of 5. I'm rambling. I'm going back and forth. I'm just trying to paint a picture. But I want to also, at this very first episode, talk about how we say, sickle cell was discovered in America in 1910.
I was going to ask. I mean, we keep quoting the figure that, we're the sickle cell capital of the world, and we have over 150,000 babies born every year. But how did we get here? I mean, was there a...
We've always had it.
Okay.
So, how did sickle cell come about in the first place? Because was there always sickle cell in the population? No.
That's a big
There was
question.
not always sickle cell in the population.
Okay.
It's just that, nature has a way of evolving.
Okay.
Evolution, whatever you call it. So nature's way of protecting itself, protecting the species in the tropics where there was malaria.
Right.
Because if you look at the malaria map of the world and the sickle cell map of the world, they're one and the same.
I think I've seen that before.
They're one and the same.
Yeah.
If you look at the proper epidemiology,
Exactly.
they're one and the same. And why is that? Malaria tends to occur around the tropics, where you have mosquitoes around the tropics, okay? Mosquitoes that carry Plasmodium.
Yeah.
That's where you have malaria. But that's around the tropics. And, okay, what happened was nature found, I'm going to call it nature, found that persons who were AA, because that's the way this condition is inherited. In genetics is a kind of pre-ordered way of passing the gene. If your father has an S gene and your mother has an S gene, you may pick up an S gene and S gene. There's a way you draw the thing. So if both your parents are carriers, AS and AS,
you have the tendency to
you have 1 in 4 chance of being a child with sickle cell.
Sickle cell, yeah.
But it's a chance. It doesn't mean that, because I have seen in real life a family of 6 children, all of them are AA.
Wow.
And the parents are both carriers, AS,
Yeah.
AS. And the converse is also true. A family, when I was in medical school, a family of 7 children, Ibora, where we had a rural posting, family of 7 children.
All had sickle cell.
All SS.
Wow.
Not one child was spared.
So because
And one by one, we lost them.
Wow.
One by one, we lost them. It was many years ago. Like I said, at the time, we didn't have as much, we hadn't progressed in terms of where we are. That's where we are today. In terms of treatment, new treatments, So it's chance. Which is why there's something that goes around and people say, 1 in 4 chance.
Yeah, because
1 in 4. So if you have 4 children,
exactly,
one
people
child
tend
will
to
have
think that
sickle cell.
but I have AS, my partner has AS, we'll just have 1 child. So we don't have a sickle cell child. So when
that
you
is
say
the last one now
exactly,
before.
they have this impression that it's the last one. So let's not have 4, so that the last one doesn't turn out to be sickle
correct.
cell.
There's still that belief around.
Yeah.
That's
a whole
absolutely
conversation
incorrect.
on its own.
It's in every pregnancy. It's like the mother is presented with a hat with 4 papers squeezed. That's okay. Pick one.
To pick one.
And she picks.
Exactly.
And in those 4 papers, one is written AA, one is written AS, another AS,
and
another
then
SS. Pick. And she picks one. She could pick AS the first time. The second pregnancy, she shake it again. Another 4 presented. She picks. She could pick SS again.
I honestly think
so. It could be SS all the way. It could be AA, but because of chance, invariably there's a mix. There's a mix. You have some AA, some SS, some AS. But 50% are likely to be AS, like the parents. The parents are likely to half of the time likely to reproduce themselves. Their kind of genetic makeup.
I honestly think that this is a part of the conversation that we would need to shed more light on, because there's absolutely a lot of misconception around,
even amongst educated persons.
Exactly.
We are taught in school is 1 in 4. Somebody argued with me,
yeah,
and I had to bring out texts and let's study this together.
So
and we study this together. So it's not 1 in 4 like that.
Yeah,
it's not like if you have 4 children.
A probability.
It's probability. It's a chance.
Yeah.
In every pregnancy, so we have to keep emphasizing. In every pregnancy is 1 in 4 chance. In every pregnancy is 1 in 4 chance. In every pregnancy is 1 in 4 chance.
So just to bring your point home. So basically, sickle cell disorder is not something that's contagious. It's something that you're born with.
Correct.
And it's an inherited blood disorder that you, by chance inherit from both of your parents if they are carriers.
Correct.
Exactly. So I would like us to touch more. You were speaking about malaria and nature's way of nature's way of protecting us from malaria.
Correct.
Let's delve
talk more about that.
So
that. I went that way because I was talking about AA. Okay, because the AAs are those who feel like. I've had conversations with people who say, we're very healthy.
We're untouchable.
Some things, they think A means like A star is called the highest. And that's not true. A is designation for adult hemoglobin, A.
Okay.
And then S is sickle hemoglobin. It's just a designation. It doesn't mean, I'm very healthy. I'm number one. It's totally incorrect.
Well, in their defense, I mean, they don't have sickle red blood cells. So
Nevertheless, that was nature's way of protecting the species because those AAs were dying off. And nature thought, okay, to throw up a gene that will combine with the A as an AS state.
Okay.
And that AS state was resistant to malaria. And they lived, they survived, they didn't die.
Wow. Okay.
They didn't die. And that still holds true today. Do you know that in the history of medicine, we have not seen in literature that cerebral malaria, the worst complication of malaria, was found in anyone with AS? Because for some reason, they don't get that level of parasites in the blood. The parasitemia is never that high to cross what we call the blood-brain barrier.
I can actually agree because...
The blood-brain barrier is the protective barrier that protects the brain from the blood, from the body, if you like. Oh, okay. So when the level of parasites is overwhelming, it breaches that barrier and enters the brain. But you won't get that in
people who have
who are AS.
Who have AS. So.
But mind you, I don't think nature reckoned with S and S coming together.
I mean,
to become the sickle cell
have,
state.
Probably just managed with malaria then.
The SS together because it becomes a double. We don't even want them to get malaria at all. That's why we get part of the treatment is daily proguanil to prevent malaria, prophylaxis for malaria.
But I'm curious though. I mean, if one S prevents, severe malaria.
It's not maths, 1 + 1, 2.
Oh, really?
But if you look at it from a simple point
double
of view,
S would be like,
double protection.
Shield, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Nature did not reckon that if S and S came together, there'll be trouble. Okay. Because that'll be it's like double whammy. The blood cells are already compromised.
Yeah.
Misshapen, and then you now want to parasitize them, So the anemia will just tip them over to severe morbidity or even mortality. They could just die of already that they have shortage of blood. The blood level is so low because remember those cells don't live long. Our body, this human body, I have absolute respect for the human body. I always marvel. That's one of the things I really enjoy most being a doctor, having passed through the rudiments of anatomy. First of all, you see the human body, and then you study physiology. How does it function? Yeah. And you put it two together. It's amazing.
It is
marvelous. So now look at this human body. Okay, the white. Remember, we have white blood cells, we have red blood cells, we have platelets. All of them functioning perfectly well. I was talking about the AA and the AS. The S and S coming together would be sickle cell.
Yeah.
Obviously, nature did not reckon that if S and S came together, there'd be a problem. Those red blood cells don't live long.
Enough.
Within 10 to 20 days, they die off. The body wipes it off.
That's for a sickle.
Yes. Okay. Those cells are misshapen.
Yes.
And the body recognizes them as, look, these are useless.
But the normal ones, what's the lifespan for like the normal
3 months. 120 days.
Wow, so compare 3 months to 10 days.
To 20 days. So anemia is very common, shortage of blood.
Yeah.
By the time the blood cells just begin to rapidly reduce in number, then new cells begin to come up. And because of the frequent destruction of red blood cells, when blood cells die, the body evacuates it. And what does that is the liver. Oh, wow. Again, respecting the human body, everything has its function. The liver knows to wipe out all the debris, detoxifying the body, and it does a good job of it. But when it's overwhelming, you now see the eyes are yellow. You know why that happens? Because the end product of hemoglobin destruction, if you like, is a substance called bilirubin. Bilirubin colors the skin yellow. But because we're dark, you don't really see it on our skin. You always see it on the skin. Okay. But for us, you can see it in the white, in the sclera, the white of the eyes.
Is that the same thing it's called jaundice?
Yes, jaundice.
Okay.
That's jaundice and yellowness of the eyes. But jaundice, people think that jaundice is a disease. It's not. It's a sign. Because it can be caused by other conditions.
Most of the time, the very first time I heard of jaundice, it was in a newborn.
Yes.
So I was wondering, so is it possible? I didn't know the situation of the child. I just noticed that
it's not uncommon in every newborn because newborns in utero, when you have a lot of cells, more cells that you need. Okay. So when you're born and you're in a terrestrial space in this environment, the body just discards what it doesn't need.
So it's not like it's
when it's
pathological situation with the child.
Most times it's physiological.
Okay.
Because we call it physiological jaundice.
Okay.
And the babies go home and there's no problem when it's within a tolerable level. But when it's high, they keep them in the hospital and do what we call phototherapy and clear off the excessive bilirubin, because too much bilirubin can damage the brain.
Okay.
And lead to, we have a number of children who are still suffering from brain damage. From what? From high jaundice, high bilirubin levels at birth. But we digress, back to why it's double whammy. Their blood cells are already compromised, misshapen. Now you want to add another malaria. No, you don't want to do that. So to tip them over to severe illness and sometimes even death. So that their blood hemoglobin tends to be, I've seen hemoglobin in a patient sickle cell as low as 2. And they were walking around.
Wow.
So the body also begins to adapt. Not that it's the best.
Yeah.
But and then the normal hemoglobin is like 12, 13, 14, 15 grams, But so it is, we don't want that.
Yeah.
We don't want malaria at all. So we give them anti-malarial prophylaxis.
It's just too much for one person.
Daily.
Yeah.
Daily. They must not get malaria. It is going to be double whammy. No. It's a no. They're bed nets, insecticide-treated nets. That even though I know that doesn't work in many places, many of my mothers in the communities, they use it as pillow. Those nets, they put their heads, because we live in a very hot environment.
Yes, we do.
And it gets hotter and hotter.
Exactly.
And these people, they sleep on the streets, quite frankly. So they live, behind us in Mushi. They spread their mattresses or mats on the road. And they sleep there at night because indoors is so hot. And because it's face to face, you kind of accommodations.
That's a very
a family of 10 people squashed into one room and they all sleep there. But it's common. Unfortunately, that's what happens in urban slums.
Yeah.
But in rural areas, they live better. They live well. They live fresh air.
I'm curious to know how.
Oh yes, if you see how we'll do more community work, so you see how they live in rural areas, proper rural areas.
Okay, so there are
where
no
they take care of their no. And it's like, 2 people live in a room, in a bedroom, and the room, you think it's not aerated, but there's breeze, there's airflow.
Does that have anything to do with maybe population? Or?
Definitely, this migration from rural to urban. Everybody's chasing something in the city, and we're congesting it, we're overstretching all the amenities. It's too much.
Yeah, it's too
much. But there's no way we will talk about sickle cell. We won't talk about
living conditions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to how we came. I said one thing I like to also mention when I have the chance is, in history we say, okay, Americans discovered sickle cell. It's not true. We knew it here. We knew about sickle cell.
We just didn't know what to call it.
We had names for these things.
Did.
We had in Nigeria, in Ghana, in used to be called Upper Volta. It's now what is Upper Volta now? Not Côte d'Ivoire.
I'm trying to.
Ouagadougou is there. Where the military man is the president, is the head of state now. I don't recall now, but most of these West African countries.
Okay.
So obviously, this is where sickle cell was most prevalent.
So why didn't we have the privilege of owning the discovery?
Because we didn't write it.
Oh.
We didn't document it.
Okay.
When you document, even the Professor Herrick, who today owns the glory that he discovered sickle cell, it's because he published. But I tell you, it was his resident doctor that actually saw the thing first.
He was African or?
No, he wasn't African. All he was. But the poor young man didn't document it. It was his professor that documented it. Today, say, Herrick discovered sickle cell.
And now look, we are the sickle cell capital of the world.
But we've always had it. So let's keep that in our minds. We've always had it. We had names for it. I don't remember the names now. Of course, we still, over time, we start calling it Abiku.
Yeah.
Depending on if you're Yoruba, it's Abiku. Abiku is, because the children, if you're Igbo speaking, it's Ogbanji. Abiku because the children die often, but not unexpected.
Yeah.
If it is an inherited condition, a child will have it. Okay. Another child in the family can also have it. But they might think, that child came back. And every so often they will put clarifications. I've seen them at least.
And some of them are so very not on their faces.
When I was a medical student, and I first encountered that a grandmother in the labor room was looking at a child, looking for something in the foot, back and forth. And we said, what were you looking for? We said, and the nurses explained to us that they were looking for the scar that had given the previous baby that died, to know if it was that baby that came back. And that's Abiku they're talking about, So it's not Abiku, it's not Ogbanje, it's not spiritual, it's not a stepmother somewhere. It is just inherited. And like I said, the gene was thrown up, and we live with that gene today in our population. So it's not Herrick that discovered it. We had it all along. We had names for this condition. It's like when they say, you didn't, of course, your own history as younger Nigerians, you didn't learn. We learned history that said Mungo Park, one Englishman, discovered River Niger.
Yeah.
And that is so incorrect. River Niger is a river by my town, Asaba, where my people, my forefathers, and even me during the war went to fetch water and bathed and everything.
But there was no opportunity to document that. We found this.
So they did, or they would tell you. So others were Clapperton brothers. They came from somewhere. I don't remember what they did. Okay. But all these things were attributed to the Igbos, of course, and they gave us those history books.
Okay,
so it's totally incorrect. It's our own thing. Now, in terms of population, I told you about the tropics and malaria. The maps being the same. It's not. One other myth is that it's only a black population. Is not true. If you're in the tropics, if you're in the malaria belt of the world, it's not uncommon that you have it.
Okay.
So right across Africa, from Senegal, Gambia, Sierra Leone, down to Ghana, Nigeria, across Central Africa, Central African Republic, the Congos, to East Africa, we have it. Then even beyond the Saudi Arabia, Asian subcontinent, as far flung east as Indonesia, those archipelagos, those tiny islands, archipelagos of Indonesia, they have sickle cell. So it's in the tropics. As long as there's malaria, there will be sickle cell.
Oh, great.
You won't have it, even though we're in Africa, you won't find it in temperate parts of Africa. South Africa, for instance, or Southern African countries. There's inherently no sickle cell there, except by migration. And by migration, we have malaria now. We have sickle cell everywhere
in the world.
We have, like I said, we do trainings for doctors in Australia and New Zealand, where Nigerians have migrated and they don't know how to treat sickle cell, but they're willing and open to learn. So we Sickle Cell Foundation Nigeria is doing the trainings for them.
That's amazing.
Canada,
I must say,
Europe. South America, everybody's asking for.
I think it's about
help.
time. It's about time we took the lead. I mean,
because we're number one.
Exactly.
And the reason we're number one is because of our population.
Yeah. So if we keep saying that we're the sickle cell capital of the world, it's only imperative that we take lead on that. So I mean, it's a lot that has been said already today, but I'd like to know. I mean, you've given us a bit of a background history on how we got here as a people when it comes to sickle cell disorder. And I know that we have come a long way. I mean, from everything you said.
True, we
and
have.
Personally, I believe that we have come a long way when it comes to sickle cell disorder. But before we wrap up the session, I'd like you to tell us how far do you think we've come, as a people, and how important do you think this conversation is? I mean, recently I realized that there are conversations that have been happening around sickle cell disorder. People have been picking it up. I mean, comedians are now coming out to do skits on sickle cell disorder. It has gained some level of popularity in recent time. So I'd like to know, or tell us, basically, how important this conversation is. And, I mean, just throw a little more light on how far we've come.
Okay. Well, in simple terms, I'll say we've come a long way. We've come a long way.
I believe so too.
So, and yes, kids and all those are coming up. They were a rarity before.
Yeah.
And like I said, I used to say before, parents used to hide their children, but now they'll come out and say, my child has sickle cell. And like I've often said, Yorubas have a proper name for it now. They call it sejedole, speaking to the shortage of blood, the anemia of the condition. That's something which makes the blood lazy. Yeah. And I've also challenged other ethnic groups to come up with an appropriate name for this disorder. Yes. So it's something that we are now owning in many ways, and I'm happy about that. Yeah. And I must say also that I think government, we're all government, mind you, is looking in this direction. But as from a lot of nudging and pushing from advocacy organizations like ours. Yeah. And speaking of advocacy organizations, there's so many now. So many people are coming up. So people are seeing that it's something that needs to be done. But it's important that we convey accurate information to the public. So, which is what I also talk to NGOs that are coming up and putting out information that sometimes is scary and not and totally incorrect. They tell you that your child cannot live more than 16 years old. That's a myth, but that's an advocacy group saying this is what you should. Don't marry somebody who has AIDS because your child will die by age of 16. That's not correct. Yeah. Now here I am saying it's not a death sentence. They can live normal, productive lives if they are properly managed. And like I said, in Sickle Cell Foundation Nigeria, we do everything that concerns sickle cell, from advocacy to prevention to treatment, management, so that they live a good life. And then now we have a cure. For sickle cell disorder in form of stem cell transplantation in partnership with Lagos University Teaching Hospital and Vanderbilt University Medical Center in America. There's so much to say when we're talking about sickle cell. We could keep talking till tomorrow.
Honestly, I'm already for a first episode.
We're done.
It's a lot that has been unpacked already for a first episode, and I can only imagine, how much more we have to.
There's an awful lot. But it's conversations that need to be had. We just continue conversing.
I believe so too. So, but before I let you go, ma'am, let's just call this sickle cell nuggets. So just maybe one or two things that you like anyone listening or watching this episode to take home today. Just maybe a few words.
Okay.
Yeah.
First is, please, sickle cell is not a death sentence.
Very important.
Very, very important.
Yeah.
And do not discriminate or stigmatize persons with sickle cell disorder. You encounter them at work.
Important as well.
Encounter them at workplace, at school. Be friends with them. Be supportive.
Yeah.
And do not discriminate. And I would just say to government that we need government. When it's us, we're government, but we need laws, legislation policies. There's policy in place, but for policies to be implemented without fail, you need a law that will back it up, to give it bite. And that's where the legislators come in. So legislators should please allow us engage with them before they come up with bills, so appropriate bills that speak to the condition, as for those who are already here, who have the condition that should be managed, and then for prevention as well.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think this is a very good place to end the episode today. So thank you so much for joining us on this very first episode of Sickle Cell Conversations. If this episode has, touched you or you've learned a lot, please do well to share it. And we absolutely love your feedback. So do well to contact us or connect with us on all our social media platforms. We are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter. And we'll be looking forward to your feedback, questions, and concerns, if there are any. And until we come your way next time, please stay kind and stay informed. Thank you.